Hello from Mashpee TV. I'm Chris Boyd, a Mashpee resident and business owner. I'll be the moderator of today's Mashpee TV 2021 Selectmen Candidates Forum. Joining me as co-moderator is Ryan Spencer from the Mashpee Enterprise. This forum is an opportunity for the candidates to speak to Mashpee voters. The questions I'll be asking were submitted by community members, including parents, the news media, civic leaders, and other interested citizens of Mashpee. From all the questions submitted, we've selected those that best cover the range of issues that will be facing members of the Mashpee Board of Selectmen, and those that will allow voters to better know the candidates seeking to serve on our Board of Selectmen. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement, 2 minutes to address each question, as well as a 1 minute response to any follow-up question the moderator may present to further clarify a candidate's response. Each candidate will also have 2 minutes for a closing statement. We'll get to the first question shortly, but first, let's meet the candidates. Marie Stone, John Cotton, and Tom O'Hara. Thank you all for being here. Each candidate has 1 minute for their opening statement. The candidate's order was chosen at random earlier, so Marie, we'll begin with you.
Thank you, and thank you, Mashpee TV, for having me here today. I'm very excited. I want to introduce myself. I'm Marie Stone, and I am running for the Board of Selectmen. I am a lifelong resident of Mashpee, born and raised here. My family has a history of public service in this town that spans 3 generations, starting with my great-grandfather and former selectman, Ferdinand Mills. I have more than 25 years of business experience in Fortune 500 companies. I've also served on Mashpee's Affordable Housing Committee for many years. And I've also served as the Human Resource Manager and Tribal Council Secretary for the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe. I will bring to the Board of Selectmen my professional skills in problem solving and quality specialists, as well as my ability for financial management.
Thank you, Marie. Now we'll hear the opening statement from John Cotton. John?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mashpee TV. Thank you, Mashpee residents. I'm John Cotton. I've been your Mashpee Selectman for the past 6 years, and I would appreciate your support going forward for another term. I am dad of 3 children. I lived in Mashpee over 22 years. And I just loved everything about Mashpee. Sorry about that. And I would appreciate your consideration on May 8th for as your serve another term as your Mashpee Selectman. Thank you.
Tom O'Hara, your opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Excited to be able to run again. And I'd like to introduce myself and let everybody know that doesn't know me. I've been here for over 25 years. I'm a self-employed contractor, building contractor, doing a lot of remodeling now, getting ready to retire, about reaching that age. So raised my children here. I raised a niece and a nephew here that I took on to live with us. And it's been quite an adventure down here. And I was able to move in. When I moved here, I got involved with design plan review at the building department in Mashpee. Went on from the design plan review, they asked me to be on the planning board. I got involved with the planning board, shortly became the chairman of the planning board, which was quite a challenge. And since then, I've moved up to the Board of Selectmen. I've been a selectman now for 9 years total. 1 year where I was off for a year, but came back quickly. And this will be running for another 3 years, so it'll be a total of 12 years. I think in those years, I've established myself as someone who shows up, gets the job done. I don't have a tendency to miss any meetings. I always stay involved and have a lot of liaisons. And besides that, I'm also the delegate for the Assembly of Delegates for the town of Mashpee. Thank you.
Water quality has been a major problem in Mashpee for years. The town now faces a potential lawsuit over nitrogen pollution from septic systems, and voters at town meeting next month will be asked to approve a $54 million sewer construction project. As a member of the Board of Selectmen, what would your priorities be when it comes to addressing water quality?
Well, I think, addressing water quality, thank you, Chris, a great question. Um, it's, it should be at the top of everyone's, list of what we need to address. And that being said, I think we addressed that with the wastewater, project that we're going forward with phase one. Last year we were it came forward, and I don't think we were ready last year to answer all the questions to the community. So we decided as a board to withdraw that, moving that forward, so we could address and answer a lot more questions. And I think we did that. And I think we did that very well. So, yes, at this coming town meeting, we are going to be looking for the support from the Mashpee residents, with the phase one $54 million project. But I think we did a great job answering all the questions, filling in all the holes that I think were out there last year this time. So I'm looking forward to, hopefully with the support of the residents of Mashpee, approving this, and then, start our progress forward to cleaning the waters of Mashpee and the community in general. I think there's a lot of things that have to be done, and I think this is a great first step. Thank you.
Just really quickly, John, how would you address concerns that individual property owners have about the cost of the project?
Well, we've got actually a lot of great news recently, and that's going to be coming out to the community, the residents, very shortly as far as the details. But um, you know, right now we were originally looking at potentially having a cost of $80 for an average resident of, I think it was like a $498,000 house, which was like the median price. So, but that number of $80 is actually going to be much lower, and it could be actually zero to all the residents of Mashpee. And it's because we've made a lot of good decisions over the last couple of years. One
Okay.
in my mind was the 75% of the hotel motel tax being allocated to
Okay.
wastewater. I think that was a very, smart move on our behalf to represent, Mashpee, and that money didn't go into the general budget. So because of that, it went directly into the budget of, to
Okay.
be used for wastewater.
All right. Thanks. Tom, I'm going to address the same question to you because it is on the top of the mind of many Mashpee voters. As a member of the Board of Selectmen, what would your priorities be when it comes to addressing water quality?
Well, I think we're heading down the right road. We all know that the bays, rivers, estuaries, they need help. We all see the the green algae floating in the rivers and the streams in the summertime. This is something that needs to be addressed. The rivers and the bays, they're all very important to us. Part of our economy, let's face it, we're a vacation resort area. Not a it's a nice place to live, and we want clean water as well, not just for tourists either. But John's right that there were some smart moves made. We did move forward. Phase one is just that first step. Some of it, the cost initially, it escalated. They downsized. So I have some concerns, but to the general public overall, it could be $0 or less than $50 a year. I mean, that's not bad, and we can move forward. I think we have to do something. The price is right on this one, and I think that's all that's important to us at this point. Move forward. Let's get our feet wet. Let's move forward. And I will say this, Andrew Gottlieb worked very hard, and because of him and the board that, with his leadership, some of these dollars came in that there's going to be zero interest, which is not bad, pretty good. So that's where I stand on it. I agree with John, absolutely. I think the whole board was unified on this decision. Thank you.
Marie, I'd address the same question to you in both parts as well. I mean, concerns that people have in town about the costs in general, but also as a member of the Board of Selectmen, what would your priorities be when it comes to addressing water quality in the town?
Well, my priorities would have happened 30 years ago. I think that we are way behind the gun and that the Mashpee water is really dying and crying out for us. We're far behind the 8 ball on this one. As far as priorities are concerned, I think we need a multi-pronged approach. I'm definitely for the wastewater treatment facility and it moving forward. I'm absolutely over the top about the fact that in phase one, there'll be no incremental increases in taxes from the users of the system. How phase two and the following phases will pan out, we'll have to see how those funding rounds go. But I am very happy with the performance of Selectman Gottlieb and his ability to go out into whether it was the states or the feds or where we get our funding from, but to actually go out and seek the funding. My concern would be that we don't have a process already in place at the selectmen's level, like grant writers and the like, who are already working on funding as a matter of a full-time position, because we're going to need this. So my priorities are definitely within the wastewater treatment facility, but then it's also our ponds and our estuaries and the cleanup of those areas, which I'll get into a little more later. But that would be my priority.
Well, no, as a follow-up, it's fine if you want to continue with the cleanup of the estuaries and ponds.
Well, the cleanup of the ponds, I mean, everywhere you read, studies show that dredging is not the solution. And the reason it's not the solution is because it doesn't address the root cause. So it is a priority to me that we look at dredging with an understanding of what the environmental impact is. So in order to clean it up, we also have to maintain and manage what we currently have. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan. He has a few questions. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so the Board of Selectmen earlier this year voted to enter into a development agreement process with the Mashpee Commons. While the Planning Board will be the town's main negotiators, the Board of Selectmen is also likely to involve. What should the town's priorities be when it comes to negotiating with the Commons? Marie, we're going to start with you.
That's for Marie.
Sure. Well, I think this triple agreement, three-way agreement that you're talking about sort of misses a step. I think that the planning board should be taking its cues from the community and not from the developers. There's a place and time for that, but I have not seen, or let's say I've seen an absence of the voice of the residents of this town that vote us in having input into what the planning department is about to negotiate. Remember, we're elected leaders, we're appointed boards, but we are here to serve, not to be served, okay? So in order to serve those who put us here, the residents, we need to come up with some clever ways of reaching everyone and grabbing that input and taking it into consideration, as well as using it and letting that information show up so voters know we listened to you and we heard you and we are taking this seriously. And this is what we've done to show you that we've taken it seriously. Thank you.
John, you're next. The same question. What should the town's priorities be when it comes to negotiating with the Commons?
I think it's, follow through it. And I think you said it. It's negotiating with Mashpee Commons. What is the next step? What is right for Mashpee? I think that's what's you actually said the words in your statement. It's negotiating with Mashpee Commons and on behalf of. There's two sides to every to the situation. There's what's good for Mashpee and there's what's good for Mashpee Commons. But again, there's a middle ground, and it's not overgrowth. That's the last thing I want to see in Mashpee. But at the same time, modified growth or casual growth. There has to be continued growth in the town of Mashpee. So that's just sustainability. So, it's not like we're not going to give the keys to Mashpee Commons and they can do whatever they want. I mean, the planning board are elected officials just like we are. So, they're put in that place, as a seat on that planning board to negotiate what they believe and representing, keeping in mind, as Marie said, absolutely keeping in mind what the residents of Mashpee want, because that's what all of us are supposed to do. It's what the majority of residents, what's good for Mashpee, comes down to that negotiation of what they want, what we want, and there has to become a middle ground somewhere. And again, it has to be good for Mashpee as a whole.
All right,
Thank
and Tom, the same question to you. What should the town's priorities be when it comes to negotiating with the Mashpee Commons?
Well, always it's always what's in the best interest of the residents of Mashpee. That obviously that's our job to do, represent the people of Mashpee. I wish more people did attend meetings, whether the planning board meetings or the selectmen's meetings, especially when the commons or anybody developer is presenting their plans. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of people that get involved. I mean, everybody has a voice, and I can tell you that the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, they work very hard to iron things out and get the best they can for the residents of Mashpee. As far as the Mashpee Commons goes, to have them sit at the table, I have to believe that this is something that Buff Chase is building a legacy. His family's name will carry on, and he wants to show that he is a part of Mashpee. He has always been a part of Mashpee. I've known him for years now. It's almost over 20 years, and he's true to his word. He does the best he can. There's talk about the possibility of affordable housing in any of the residential buildings that he builds, and whether that be for families and seniors. That's what we want. We want that so that people can remain here. I'm getting to the point where I don't need a big house anymore. I mean, if I could get a nice apartment, and if I were able to qualify, how wonderful would that be to be able to live in Mashpee Commons? Great place. Everything he's done with class. I have no problems. I've never seen him do anything that I wouldn't have agreed with. I mean, he's just done a wonderful job. People they come to Mashpee because of Mashpee Commons. I mean, everybody knows Mashpee Commons, whether it be retail, the housing, the apartments that are there. They're done wonderfully. The people that live there can't say enough nice things about the apartments. They're all happy with their dollars. I think this is a win-win for the town. I think it will shorten the time, and we can move forward quickly. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Excuse me, Ryan, can I comment on that question? My answer is always going to put the residents first, specifically to Mashpee Commons as a developer, and any future developers. I really believe that we need to, as a Board of Selectmen, insist on financial impact analysis of what they're going to be adding to the tax base, whether it's going to be a tax burden or not. And that means making sure that they pay their fair share of fire, police, EMT, and all the other services that we here in town end up bearing the burden of. When these analyses aren't considered, so we need a financial impact, we need a traffic analysis, we need a water quality analysis on what those impacts of new developments are going to be. And they should be done at the cost of the developer from the onset.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll jump in on that. That's why we have people that set the taxes. They do an assessment of the property, and everybody pays their fair share. Nobody gets away with building a property with not being charged taxes. They pay their fair share. That's what they're supposed to do. As far as the water quality, Mashpee Commons has had a wastewater treatment system for years before most everybody else in this town, and it's an effective system, and they upgrade it all the time. They spend the money to protect our rivers, bays, and estuaries. They're good neighbors, always have been, and they never get away with not paying taxes.
I'd like to, if you don't mind, I'd like to add on to that as well. You
Really
know,
quickly, yep.
yeah. So, and again, you're absolutely right, Tom. I agree with you. I mean, all those checks and balances as far as traffic surveys, that's all done. That's always done. So everything you named off, Marie, that is all done as far as a standard practice for any development. So, and to add to Tom's statement about, right now it is, I'm proud to say that Mashpee Commons is in Mashpee. They have done everything right to make me proud of Mashpee and have Mashpee Commons in Mashpee. It's so, I just think we just have to, it's all about a negotiation and discuss, but what's best for Mashpee going forward, it's yet to be seen. But I think we owe it to them to have that negotiation and have that discussion, but they haven't done anything bad to this town of Mashpee yet. So, but again, all the checks and balances are all done and they have been done to this point. So thank you.
Okay, if I could move on, I'm going to just move on to another topic and actually address to you too, John. Again, a completely different topic, really. The Board of Selectmen voted 4-1 last fall to ban the sale of alcoholic, quote unquote, nips in miniature packaging. John Cotton, you brought the ban forward during your tenure as chairman of the Selectmen. Do you still believe the ban on nips should be going into effect on July 1st, and why?
I do. I'm actually very proud of the ban. To be honest with you, it's not something. Um, I don't believe in restricting, the sale of nips as. Um, I'm not proud of that necessarily, but I felt it was necessary to for there's a multitude of reasons. That came forward with over the years. I participated. I've been a Boy Scout leader, a Scout leader for 12, 14 years now. I participated in many cleanups in Mashpee. Um, the I seen the results of nips on the sides of roads, in the rivers, alongside you know the banks. They fall down off the side of the roads. It just, to be honest with you, it makes me sick. To see that someone could actually just buy a nip and just feel it's okay to just take it and chuck it out the window. I think it's disgraceful. So that was my first reason for bringing it forward. Um, so, there's other secondary reasons. I mean, the fact is that people are drinking nips, getting in their car and driving. That's a concern. I mean, and it's drinking and driving. I don't see why, um, you know, you can't wait till you get home or you get to some place that before you have to drink alcohol. I understand, it is what it is. But the fact is, um, the other point is, the liquor stores had a problem with, the ban and the whole thing. Um, the fact is, their own lobbyists, they talked about bottle bill, add a bottle bill. It should be added to the bottle bill. You're absolutely correct. I think a bottle bill could solve a lot of those problems. But guess what? Their own lobbyists are fighting the bottle bill. So if they can't get their own lobbyists that they're paying to support the bottle bill, then how do you expect me to support them and even consider reversing the ban on nips? That's my position. So I personally would have I wouldn't give a second thought to reconsideration until maybe the bottle bill was even under further consideration.
Thanks, John. Ryan, go ahead.
Thank you, John. Tom, last fall you voted against the nip ban. You were the only selectman to vote against the nip ban. Do you think that the nip ban should go into effect on July 1st? Why or why not?
I do not. I I don't think that the retailers should be held accountable. I think that the state legislature should impose the um, deposit on the nip bottles. I don't think the any deposit should be 20 a nickel. It should be 25 cents per bottle. And in the legislature, whether it be the Senate or the representative, that they're not doing it because of what John said is true. That because the lobbyists, but it's for the liquor wholesalers that have lobbyists, not the retailers. Their lobbyists are the wholesalers pay for them, and they don't want to have a deposit on those. But the legislature has to stand up. They need to enforce that. I don't think it's, nobody likes the unsightliness of the nips. Why people would take a nip in their vehicle and drink it, who knows? I mean, but I don't think I think it hurts the local businessman. I think they should not be penalized for loss of business. They did nothing wrong. They just sold the product. It's the user that throws it on the side of the road. That needs to be stopped. Um, I'm just not happy with the way it's being presented. I really think that this needs to be the deposit should be put back in place at a heftier level. Like I said, this nickel deposit's been in place, I think, for over 25 years. It's time it goes up to a quarter. Make it worth bending over and picking up that bottle, or don't throw it away and bring it back and get your quarter back. I mean, that would make better sense, and that's how I feel about it. And John and I disagree on this one. He knows that how I stand on this, and I'm clear about it. But and I understand why. I don't want to see it on the side of the road, but it's not the retailer's fault. Unfortunately, he loses control once that person buys it and takes it. They own it at that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Marie Stone, same question to you. If elected as selectwoman, would you support the local ban on the sale of nips, and why or why not?
What I support is no litter, and that's why I would support the local ban on nips. I have to live around this. I have to live with it in my yard. I have people who pick up nips out of their yard and bring it over to other people's yard because they swear their company are the cause of the nips. And so, whether it's nips, cigarettes, trash, anything you buy from a retailer that ends up on our soil as trash, okay, that's the business they're in. So if it hurts their business to keep us clean, one of my priorities is a clean Mashpee. It's not like, cigarette butts where you see them here, you see them there. These nips are, as bad as roaches. They're everywhere. They're on every corner. They're on the islands. They're not just in people's yards and on the streets. They are everywhere. Now, what does that say to our young kids walking home from school? What does it say to the teenagers? And you're going to grow up, if you're going to raise people to grow up in this town and they're going to be constantly looking at alcohol bottles, then you're going to be encouraging the use of alcohol. So there are other effects that it has. You think that it's just a nip bottle and they're a nuisance and why do they drink and drive? No, I don't have nip bottles on my living room floor, so I don't want them in my yard and on my grass and on my grounds. I don't want them when I go to the beach. I don't want them. I don't want to see them. Okay. We all have kids, grandkids. If you don't, you will eventually. That's not the sight you want to see. Okay. Accompanied with the nip bottles, you have a lot of other trash. You have hypodermic needles. You have condoms. People are trashing our beaches. There's garbage everywhere. Mashpee needs to clean itself up in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Ryan.
Affordable housing, we're moving on to that topic now. Affordable housing is a major problem across Cape Cod, including in Mashpee. How do you plan to help ensure that low-wage workers who fill crucial positions in the local economy can live in Mashpee? Starting with John this time.
Uh, there's obviously a dire need for affordable housing. So I don't think anybody's, on this panel running for selectmen is going to argue that fact. It's a challenge. And I think, even with this, with the potential development agreement with Mashpee Commons, it has to be addressed and it has to be part of that negotiation. So we talked about earlier about there's got to be a win-win. There's got to be something in it for Mashpee and affordable housing and, housing that's affordable. I hate to say, I don't want to say it's affordable housing, but housing that's affordable. And it's because it can come in you know, different options. It can look in different ways. So, um, you know, I don't, I think it's a serious concern and we just have to always keep, I think I used like, you have to keep maybe 10% of your brain focused on keeping things affordable, keeping living affordable in Mashpee. We always have to consider that with any decision we make. And I know personally that's what I do. I try to make every decision I make as a board of selectmen, you know, keeping in mind, is this best for Mashpee? But affordable housing always is just in my head is like, keeping living affordable. It, it's a challenge. It's not, there's no simple answer as far as I know. But I think we just have to continue to work at it and we have to continue to negotiate to get more and more of it. Thank you.
Thanks. Tom, same question. How do you plan to help ensure that low-wage workers who fill crucial positions in the local economy can live in Mashpee?
That's a really difficult question to answer. I think one of the only ways is to increase the wage. I mean, if it becomes competitive, they'll have to pay more. I know we have a lot of wait staff that works here, and they seem to do okay. Wait staff they do very well here. Maybe to be competitive and hire good employees, they're going to have to go up on their pay scale, which is tough to say. They have businesses that are working hard to make it ends meet as it is. The only other thing that I could see would be to increased density, which goes against everything that we want. We don't want to have high density areas with housing. It's a tough call, but all of these options have to be looked at. A lot of people aren't going to be able to live here, and that's just the way it is. They're going to have to commute from outside of maybe off Cape. And especially the way things have been going lately, we all see the cost of homes here. It's skyrocketing. It's going through the roof. I mean, I saw an ad somewhere. They said that the prices of homes in Mashpee are not going up; they're going down. And I was like, well, I don't know where they are, but every place I see is going sky high. I mean, and there are people waiting in line to buy them at the increased prices. Very difficult situation. I don't know a simple answer. Um, we don't have a lot of rental apartments here. Accessory apartments might be a good way to provide some type of housing for workforce housing or even, family. But difficult question. I don't know a simple answer, but that's all I can give you at this time. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Marie, same question to you. How do you plan to help ensure that low-wage workers who fill crucial positions in the local economy can live in Mashpee?
Well, it is happening in other places of the country. There are a variety of models out there for affordable housing in areas similar to Mashpee. So what I will do as a quality specialist is use my skills to go out and search the market for what's working, where it's working, and how, if possible, we can replicate that here in Mashpee. Don't believe in reinventing the wheel, and there are some success stories out there that we should be and should have been looking at. Myself and my sister, if anyone remembers Alice Lopez, are responsible for that affordable housing development that the tribe has built up on Meeting House Road, and we're really happy to see the families are finally moving in. Took a while, we lost Alice back in 2011. That was her dream because it was unbelievable to her that any Native American could be homeless in their Aboriginal lands. So affordable housing means a lot to me, it means a lot to my family. We still have a lot of homeless people who are living on the streets in Mashpee. So we definitely need the inventory, but the way we go about it, the most efficient way is to find out what's working and where it's working and what we can take, what components we can take and bring into Mashpee to make those work for us as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marie.
You're welcome.
And now we'll hear closing statements. John Cotton, first to you.
Excuse me.
Pleasure.
Thank you. I'm not hearing John. I'm not
Mike's off.
hearing.
I don't know how that happened. Sorry about that. So, first of all, thank you, everybody. Thank you for Mashpee TV. Thank you, Mashpee residents, for the past 6 years. That by no means is um, I, a goodbye, I hope. So on May 8th, you have an opportunity to re-elect me for another term, and I hope you do so. I am proud of what I have done as a member of the Board of Selectmen for the past 6 years. I've always welcomed a different view or opinion from members of the community or fellow select person. I believe that listening to others is the most important thing I can do in my elected position. Sometimes you have to make very difficult decisions, but I believe that the final decision was always the best one from Mashpee in my time. So I'd like to thank the Mashpee residents allowing me to represent them over these past 6 years. That said, I'm asking for that same support and your vote on May 8th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Tom O'Hara, your closing statement, please.
Thank you, everybody. Well, thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to be here and have this conversation. It's a good opportunity to let people know where you feel and how you present yourself, things that are important to you. Like John, obviously, I didn't intend to hang in here this long, but now I'm at a point where I'm really anxious to see where this wastewater treatment system goes. We have housing, and to be a part of the Mashpee Commons expansion and have a seat at the table to really come up with some good decisions for this town of Mashpee. I mean, it's a good opportunity to remain here for the next 3 years, use the tools that I have acquired over the years, and make sure that we're moving in the right direction and for the best interest of the town of Mashpee. And also, now that being on the Assembly of Delegates at the same time has been quite a difficult balancing act at times, but the time commitments can really chew you up. But to have the opportunity to participate at the county level and then bounce back and forth to the town level, it opens up more doors, you get more ideas, you create more friends and learn from their experiences just in conversations. I do miss the meetings where we actually sit together at a table instead of just having these Zoom meetings, but nonetheless, they're all important. But thank you for allowing me to be here today. And like John, I'd like to come back for one more term, and I appreciate your vote. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And Marie Stone, your closing statement, please.
Thank you. If elected to serve as the next select person for the town of Mashpee, I promise that I will engage all residents and listen to your concerns. I will source all segments of town and engage them in discussions around policy making, especially those decisions that affect their life. I'll continue to work on affordable housing and help find those most productive, most efficient ways and best practices that exist out there to keep Mashpee on track with its affordable housing. I will also take the initiative to bring forward the the town's first ever youth commission. The youth commission was established back in 2016, and I haven't seen any traction with the youth commission. And I'll also promise to make meaningful consultation the standard engagement method to make sure that we have integrity and transparency in government. Now, what are you willing to do to save Mashpee? This is what it comes down to. I mean, I understand the tenure of my board and all the work that they've done, but we're not in a good position. What is our moral responsibility to pay it forward, to clean up these waters, to clean up these streets, to clean up the traffic? Is the answer more development? No, I'm not against development at all. In fact, Mashpee Commons has been a very friendly neighbor to us, and I would like to keep it that way. But what I'm not willing to do is just write a blank check. Mashpee Commons plans to add like 1,710 new residential units, about 1.2 square feet of new commercial space. And to put that in perspective, that's about the size of 2 Cape Cod malls. And so the more growth we continue to go, the more that we are not serving our number one goal in the comprehensive plan, which is to remain and retain that small town character. So what I am for is affordable housing. I'm for smart, reasonable growth that's done the right way. What I am not for is overdevelopment that's going to impact the environment in a negative way, where we turn on our drinking water, it's green. The swimming pools, the swimming ponds that I grew up in, that I cannot swim in today, I want those to be around for my daughter and her children. Okay, so I'm here to fight for what is going to save Mashpee, and I'm asking you, what are you willing to do to save Mashpee? The fact that we have a 22-year-old comprehensive plan that we're working off of, and that there have been no meaningful ways to measure any progress around that plan for the past 22 years, we need to implement a system where we can measure and manage these plans. It's great to say, oh, look what we're doing for wastewater, but really, what did you do to help that wastewater? You know, what did you physically do? What did you do for 22 years? I realize we haven't been around for 22 years, but even in the onset, how do we do a check and balance against our progress of a comprehensive plan? I'm not for everything, and I will fight for what I am for. And let me just wrap up and tell you, thank you for listening to me. Mashpee is in my heart. I love Mashpee. It's in my blood. I'm not here for 22 years, 25 years. I'm here. You guys know who I am. You know my family. We go back generations, especially in town politics. And I'm asking you to vote for Marie Stone on May 8th so that we can bring a fresh breath to what has been laying stagnant for far too many years. Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Thank you, Mr. Spencer. And thank you, Mashpee TV, for inviting me here. Everybody have a good night and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. That concludes Mashpee TV's 2021 Board of Selectmen Candidates Forum. Thanks again to all the candidates for participating. Please let your family and friends know they can watch replays of this forum on channels 99, YouTube, and Facebook right up to Election Day. And don't forget to cast your vote at the Quashnet School on Election Day, which this year is on Saturday, May 8th. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. With my colleague Ryan Spencer, I'm Chris Boyd. This is Mashpee TV. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, everybody.